These are the Soundpeats Air 4. I've been using them for well over a month now, and I'm happy to give you guys my full in-depth review. Now, Soundpeats sent these out to me to review in full transparency. No money changed hands, and they're not going to get to see this video before you guys do. I am going to reference, though, other headphones like the Soundpeats Air 3 Deluxe and Air 3 Deluxe HS, and if you guys want to see those reviews, I'll have a link to where you guys can do so. Along with that, I'll have chapters to where you guys can skip around to find what parts of the video matter most to you. And as always, we're going to start off with the specs. The first spec that you guys need to know is that these are Bluetooth 5.3. They have lossless apt-x and with apt-x adaptive, along with the Snapdragon sound. This means that they're going to perform better with certain Snapdragon enabled devices or devices that have a Snapdragon chipset. They have multi-point connectivity, meaning you can use these with both your laptop and your cell phone and switch back and forth seamlessly. All of this is powered by the Qualcomm 3071 chipset, which also provides active noise cancellation. We have a gaming mode with an 88 milliseconds response time. We have 6 mics or 3 mics in each pair of headphones, and we have 13mm drivers. Talking about battery, we have 6.5 hours of playback with the headphones only. 26 hours of playback with the case. And these specs put them like at the top of their class, and they definitely build upon the success of Soundpeats' prior models. Editor Mitchell here. The Soundpeats Air 4 are definitely S-tier headphones with the inclusion of multi-point connectivity and lossless apt-x. If you're looking for a new pair of headphones, I do have playlists here on YouTube with all of the upper tier headphones, as well as a ranked list of headphones on my website for you guys to check out. I want to touch on the build, design, and materials because there's 3 areas that I really want to touch on. First is the shape of the case. It's a taller case and it slightly resembles the Airpods Gen 1 style just in the overall form factor compared to the shorter squatter case that we have with the Soundpeats Air 3 Deluxe. Second, the materials have been updated, which I am so happy to see. Gone are the days of a ridiculously glossy plastic that just constantly shows fingerprints, and we have matte black plastic. I'm really hoping that the white version of these has a matte white plastic because I really like matte plastic with all of my tech gadgets. Now, the third thing I want to touch on is the attention to detail. Now, Soundpeats headphones have always been some of the better made budget options when it comes to truly wireless headphones. But in the Soundpeats Air 4, they're really taking things up a notch with their exterior LED display where you can see how much battery I have left. It's got a nice gold ring around the USB-C charging port. There's a nice little hit of that internal material that sticks out through the front of the case, and the lid has a really satisfying, can you guys hear that? My mic's right. The lid of this feels really nice, and it's a smart lid, meaning when you open them up, they begin pairing with your phone. Now, the headphones themselves are really similar in shape to the prior Soundpeats Air 3 models, and that is that partial AirPod style design with a slightly shorter stem, and the headphones themselves have been updated, and I much prefer the Soundpeats Air 4 design that doesn't have that kind of mesh like grill over the openings of them, just because I find that that mesh grill gets gunked up with like earwax and bodily fluids of some sort. These are a new design that's overall a little easier to clean, and they don't feel like AirPod knockoffs at all. Next up, I want to touch on the controls because these are the classic Soundpeats controls. Long press one side to skip forward, long press the other side to activate a gaming mode, double tap either side to play pause, triple tap to turn on the active noise cancellation, or triple tap the other side for assistant. I think that these controls are adequate. I like being able to change the volume with the single tap on either side, but I would really like a rewind option or the ability in the Soundpeats app to remap some of the controls. In their prior headphones, you could use the app to change certain things, but in these headphones, the controls are kind of locked in, and we will be touching on the app in a little bit. Next up for you guys is a latency test. You can check out an explanation of what S-tier headphones are and look at other S-tier, A-tier, or B-tier headphones. I'll have a link for that on my website. But essentially, these headphones have these headphones with gaming mode, totally usable, but not usable for first-person shooters. I'm imagining that 80 millisecond response time that they advertised is going to be with Snapdragon sound capable devices, which is going to be very, very few devices in the United States. Let's go ahead and give you guys a mic test starting now.
Now you're hearing me on the Soundpeats Air 4. These are brand new headphones. We're outside right now, not much background noise. Tell me how I sound. Now you guys are hearing me on the Soundpeats Air 4, the newest headphones from Soundpeats. I've got some simulated background noise. Think of a moderately busy cafe or something like that. Also worth mentioning, I did update the firmware of these headphones prior to testing. So comment below with how I sound.
This microphone of the Soundpeats Air 4 has really aggressive sound dampening algorithms, which means if you're in a busy place, your voice is going to come across crystal clear. But if you're in a quiet environment such as this, the mic quality might be a little bit unsatisfying. Sound quality. Now, when you open up the Soundpeats app for the first time, you're going to be prompted to take a listening test, and they will make a custom EQ based on your ability to hear specific tonal ranges and specific frequencies. That said, you have to be in a completely quiet environment to take that listening test based on the partial in-ear nature of these headphones. In general, I usually leave it on kind of the classic Soundpeats EQ, and I find that these headphones sound really, really good with a variety of like modern electronic music, house music, hip hop, R&B, and when I'm listening to them for rock and roll, jazz, stuff like Led Zeppelin, AC/DC, the Rolling Stones, I'm usually setting them to their default, like neutral, no EQ setting. Depending upon what your listening preferences are, these headphones are going to sound really, really good in a quiet environment. Unfortunately, just based on their design, when you go out into the world, they're not going to have that same sound. So it's really difficult to properly rate these headphones when your surroundings are going to change how these headphones sound a ton. That said, they respond great to EQ, and EQing them within the Soundpeats app makes the changes on the headphones themselves. So when you connect them to your tablet, your computer, or any other device, that EQ stays with the headphones. And I love that feature. I wish more companies would have that. And I really like the idea of giving listeners a hearing test so that they can create an EQ to kind of fill in those gaps and give you a more accurate sound. If you're hoping for me to touch on how ANC affects the sound quality, it doesn't. On the advertisements for the ANC, it says that they offer 45 decibels of ANC. I can't hear the ANC when it's being used versus when it's not being used. The most of a difference that I can hear is maybe drowning out the sound of my air conditioning vents. That's why I'm holding my hand up. But in general, the ANC just isn't very effective because it's not creating a seal. Another downside to the ANC is if you're using ANC with the headphones, you're definitely not going to get the 6.5 hours playback time. I couldn't find any official statement on Soundpeats' website about what the battery life is like with ANC, but in my experience, it seemed to take about 20 to 25% of my battery life away. All of these specs and features wouldn't mean a thing if the overall user experience of these headphones was bad. That said, the user experience of these headphones has been pretty great, with a couple small gripes, starting with Snapdragon Sound. Snapdragon Sound is a program that Qualcomm launched a few years back to better connect cell phones with headphones if they were both powered with a Qualcomm Snapdragon chipset. Many of the big players in the market here in the United States that use Qualcomm chips, aka Samsung, do not support Snapdragon Sound. Apple doesn't support Snapdragon Sound, nor does Google support Snapdragon Sound, which means if you're in America, it's very, very unlikely that you're going to have a device that supports it. If you're outside of America, you have devices from BBK, meaning OnePlus, Realme, and Oppo, and those are all going to support Snapdragon Sound for the most part. On the Xiaomi side, all Xiaomi brands, meaning Xiaomi, Redmi, and some of their other kind of smaller subsidiaries, they all are also going to support Snapdragon sound. Some Motorola phones might support Snapdragon sound. Some Asus phones might support it. But in general, manufacturers have not been adopting this new feature, even though they're utilizing Qualcomm chipsets. The next gripe that I have is ANC. It cuts into my battery life and the headphones don't make a seal. And thus I find that the inclusion of ANC just kind of cuts my battery life, and now I'm not able to rewind the track because they had to shuffle the controls to enable ANC on and off. I would really like to be able to just turn off ANC altogether and never have to use it and be able to rewind my tracks. ANC is kind of a nice feature, and you might hear a difference in some circumstances, but I would just as soon get a pair of like in-ear headphones that have a transparency mode, like my Pixel Buds Pro, which have been kind of my favorite headphones in general. Does the ANC hurt the overall user experience? No, unless you forget that you left it on and your battery life is going to be cut by 25% or so. Outside of those kind of gripes, like, so if you use these headphones as just normal headphones, you're not caring about Snapdragon sound, you don't care about the ANC, you just want AirPod style headphones with a great microphone, good sound quality, and just like good overall support and build quality, these headphones are awesome. I'm not sure if they're better than the Soundpeats Air 3 Deluxe or Air 3 Deluxe HS. And if you guys want to see me compare those, let me go ahead and know that in the comment section down below. Comment about wanting to see comparisons. And I'll likely do some head-to-head comparisons for you guys, along with leaving links to where you guys can pick these up in the show notes. Till next time, it's been Mitchell. Peace! Cancellation for a pair of AirPods style partial in-ear headphones. Interesting. They have a gaming mode with 88 milliseconds delay. First up, the first spec that you guys need to know is that these are Bluetooth 5.3.